It's not just for us. Entrepreneurship, individual success services the community. And it services the community in the way that we deserve to be serviced. You deserve dignity when you walk out in a business and out of it. And if we do more of that, we'll have to do less begging, less complaining. I don't have to beg you to recognize my community when I'm your landlord. Again, I don't have to beg you to recognize my dignity when I'm your landlord. Because you got to pay me something. So you're going to act dignified, like you got some sense. When you deal with communities and watch other communities, I have Korean friends, I have friends at a Patel, I have friends whose parents got off boats 50, 60 years ago, and they took their time and wherewithal to build. They cooperated, they collaborated, they communicated, much like the students that built this university. The advantage in growing strong individuals, the advantage in those strong individuals working like collective, meaning your business will service more than your pocket, but it will service the greater community. And ultimately, that's what business is about. Bettering my community, growing my community. Casting your bucket down doesn't just make that bucket for you. That bucket can service everyone. The water in that bucket can be sold. The dirt in that bucket can be created bricks. Every bucket that go around ain't got to be asking for a donation. At the end of church, you get asked for something. Jesus needs some money. Why? The community needs some money. We need to turn that dollar. We need to become so self-determined that even if we deal with other people, we got to leverage in negotiations. And we can do it because we've done it before, time and time again. You've done it before. You've done it in Rosewood. You've done it in Birmingham. You've done it in Montgomery. You've done it here. I'm tired of the narrative we can't when we can. I refuse to accept we can't when we can. Entrepreneurship has to take the mentality of I can do it, I must do it, and I will do it. I can do anything I see anyone else do with enough study. There was a young man that tried to be in touch with me. His name is Booker T. He tried to get in touch with me through one of my music homeboys, but because your music homeboys don't always take things seriously, I didn't get a chance to invest on the initial, but now we're investors and partners. He said, I want to build communities of tiny homes. So he started a company called Techie Homes. He went to one of the worst streets in Atlanta called Godby Road. He bought a plot of land. He put 100 houses on that land, a trail, a walkway, and it gave people their opportunity to buy these beautifully modern style homes. Like they look cool, they look chic. Instead of trying to find an architect from Georgia Tech, he found an architect at Morehouse. That architect built this sustainable community with these beautiful tiny homes, because when you're coming up, your first home is usually your starter home. Where they were telling us on the news every day, the housing market has become too overpriced. Berkshire Hathaway has bought too much. People can't afford houses anymore. Booker T was just simply figuring out how to do it. He went and worked at Tesla. Elon Musk told him, in order to do something, you must know everything about it. See, you can learn from people who even your enemies. I don't like Elon Musk on Twitter. He's South African, in my mind, supports apartheid and says some of the dumbest things you could have possibly heard. But he know how to make money. My man learned something from him. My man went away, studied the housing market, studied the niche that it would work in, and now he has whole Black communities of these homes. He built his first one, built his second one, is in negotiation now to build all the way up in Norcross, Georgia, which they ain't too fond of the way we look in Norcross, Georgia. All the way to Jacksonville. He's now my business partner because he dared to dream bigger and not be limited by the doubts of others, even within his community. He is literally building communities. His name is Booker T. His brother's name is George Washington. His mother grew up in Alabama. He grew up in Southwest Atlanta, and he never accepted I can't. He didn't go to college. He has no degrees. They gave him an honorary doctorate last week, so now I call him Doc. But if anybody deserves to be called that, it's this audacious young man who built his first tiny home for Dominique Wilkins, former player of the Atlanta Hawks, superstar. And he beat Michael Jordan that year. He was robbed in 1987 in the slam dunk contest. You tell Mike I said that too. But if it hadn't been for that player encouraging that young man who dared to dream to put this amazing community on the south side of Atlanta, where now, as he's done that, now other industry is following, I wouldn't be here to stand to you to say, just like that Booker T said in the Booker T I'm seeing witness, you can do it. You must do it. You will do it. They just laid off from the federal government, got rid of 300,000 jobs. Federal government, one of the largest employers of black people in this, especially black women. There's a plot against us. There's an agenda against us. We got ops for real. But you know what you do? You do like Omar Ali and his father. You make a company so powerful that they have to contract you. Black Muslim family in Atlanta has a steel factory in Mexico. Black Muslim family who sits on the board of Governor Kemp over their construction board in Georgia. Not because they black, it ain't a DIE, because they good. You service your community when you develop a mentality of I can do this, I must do this, I will do this, and nothing will stop me from doing this. When you take faith and say, I'm going to go to Tuskegee, in spite being offered a job like George Washington Carver at a white university, I'm sure it would have been plush. Sure, he would have been a great token Negro to them. They would have brought him all his purses. This is George Washington Carver. But he chose to get it out the mud, literally and figuratively, right here under our feet. So any student that's walking this campus, no matter how tired your feet get, somebody walked this before you that was just as tired as you. Y'all don't have the best homecoming for nothing. Y'all people believe in this college, and this college has made the world believers. Warriors. 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 Oh man, I don't know if you know, but on the west side of Atlanta, man, saying you from Tuskegee is like saying you from someplace royal. You can do it. You must do it. You will do it. So the question becomes to the young people in the room, what business will you start here on campus or in your neighborhood that'll give more than it takes? There's nothing wrong with taking money. There's nothing wrong with making millions of dollars. Nothing. But what have I given? How many jobs have I given? How much opportunity have I given? How much inspiration has I given? Oh man, I was a knucklehead in high school, man. My homeroom teacher hated me. I gave that poor gay man hell. I loved him, but I gave him hell. Mr. Arnold, I'll never forget. Mr. Arnold said, you could never be a Morehouse man. Look at you. Won't even pull your pants up. Mr. Arnold didn't know that I had two cousins. I had an uncle and a cousin had already been to Morehouse. So I was like, I can go to Morehouse too. I didn't understand the importance until I got there. And I was like, I met my friend Dave, whose dad owned a $100 million company in 93. I'm like, what? I said, man, your dad owned a $100 million company? He was like, shh, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. I was like, be quiet for what, nigga? I said, I just read about your father, man. I'm inspired. And I remember his father, when he came to visit, talked to us, big burly man, kept a knot full of money because he had grew up poor. So he liked to tip people. I was inspired by Dave and his dad. If I hadn't been to Morehouse, if I hadn't been challenged by Mr. Arnold, I never would have went. So the question becomes, young people today, what can you do here on this campus today, as a business or otherwise, that lends itself not only to you making money, but to inspire, to employ, and to give others dignity? Because beyond creating engineers, agricultural majors, beyond creating business people, what Booker T has done, what this institution has done, is give people a sense of dignity that is unbreakable, that is unshakable, that is immovable. So I sing and dance for a living. You can think I'm a court jester if you want to, until you find out I own the land you're standing on, and rent due. Businesses thrive when communities have strong voices and bring advocacy. Herman Russell is someone I rap about because he grew up in the Summerhill Peoplestown community in Atlanta, Georgia. And Summerhill Peoplestown was blighted by poverty. There was not a lot of opportunity. You know, anytime they name something people sound, it ain't really for the people. It's for, you know who it's for. He went to I want y'all to watch this documentary, Herman J. Russell. He went to, I think at the time he had to go to one of the buildings, might even be the police, but he went to get a permit to shine shoes, to start a shoe shine business. And they ignored this little Negro boy. So he went on to shine shoes. He saved up enough money. He found a plot of land. He wanted to buy that plot of land. They weren't really concerned with him buying a plot of land at first, but he finally bought the plot of land, and then he realized he bought or built on the wrong plot. He was supposed to be on the plot next to him, and a white man owned the plot, so he negotiated a deal. This is why he's still a young man. He negotiated a deal to buy the second plot. And he learned how to do sheetrock and construction and more. Y'all want to know what university he went to? What? What? That's right. This poor child from Atlanta was educated in Tuskegee. He was poured into in Tuskegee. When Atlanta finally got his first black mayor, Maynard Jackson, Maynard told businesses, if you ain't doing business with black folks, then we ain't doing business with you. That man benefited from city contracts. That man lived only 2 or 3 streets behind me. That man helped create more black millionaires and builders, from Noel Khalil, who was my business partner and mentor, to others. That man and his sacrifice in Summerhill, Peoplestown, and at Tuskegee have provided a legacy of others that have done the same and repeated process. When you do good to create good, you create a greater good for the community. When you do good by yourself, not by yourself, but by yourself, when you do right by you, you tend to do right by others. And they're trained to do right by others. And you create a community in which doing right by the next person is better for us all. So the challenge is not in how to create a business for personal wealth, but how do I create a business that grows and sustains community? And just so you know, I'm not talking in the past. Right now, as we speak, the 6th growing fastest casual food place in the nation is a place called Big Dave's Cheesesteak, owned by a guy named Derek from Philadelphia, who was given a chance by a rapper named Eve. Eve hit the lottery. She went and married a white billionaire. God bless her soul. Jesus Christ, I wish I could get on that plane. My wife is pretty smart, so when she does it, I'm retiring. Y'all have enough of me. Eve gave him a chance to make cheesesteaks for a set that she was on. He was on a half-working grill in a gas station. He did a great job. Now he has 12 franchises growing into 20 and the fastest growing in the nation, selling cheesesteaks. Because he identified a market that wanted cheesesteaks, but didn't have a place to get them. You had to go to Philadelphia to get a good cheesesteak in Atlanta. He married a woman who started a company called Slutty Vegan that exploded. So how are you going to combat that? He's smart, she's smart, the children smart, they know how to grow business. My grandfather used to tell me about a man, and I don't care what you read bad about business has ups and downs, it has flows. Slutty Vegan had to reconfigure how they're making it work. They'll tell you, man, Slutty Vegan may be owing their landlord. They won't tell you that the landlord in the city of Atlanta, unfortunately, took out a lot of parking, so you can't park and go to the restaurant the same. So they got to reconfigure. Me and T.I. opened Bankhead Seafood, 50-year dream of a black woman to do it. She got a chance to see us open it. She got a chance to be proud and say, this is what I always wanted. Man, we didn't understand that we was hiring too many people. We had to figure out how to scale that back. We had a pipe leaking. We had to open up the restaurant for construction to come redo construction. We had to close a couple months. I've been sick in my stomach. I'll be so glad when September comes, because we are not going to give up. Because we understand that this business ain't just about making money. We get paid a lot of money to sing and dance. We get paid a lot of money to speak, but it ain't just about us. It's about the community. People talk trash about my buddy T.I. My buddy T.I. opened up an affordable housing complex, bought the old Kmart, now houses 143 people. Now, with all the criticism that rappers are ever getting, You got to ask yourself, why don't they ever talk about this amazing stuff that I hear going on in Atlanta? Why don't I hear about John Hope Bryant, the largest black owner of rental properties in this nation? And if you've ever watched John Hope Bryant speak, he is adamant about black people doing stuff as simple as raising your credit score by 100 points. Let's get out of the 5 into the 60s and 7s. Because what happens is when you have a better credit score, it gives you a greater opportunity to own. And when you own a neighborhood, you take more pride in the neighborhood you own. Value comes up in that neighborhood. Schools become better. Schools produce then better students. Those better students go off to college at HBCUs, come back and bring something to the community. We have to start to see ourselves as the greatest advocate for ourselves and the only allies we have. Now, that doesn't mean other folks ain't gonna come, because I'm gonna tell you something, you get to making money, boy, white folks don't mind lending you some. They don't mind. They don't understand barbershops until they understood barbershops. And the next thing you know, we get an invite to put the first barbershop in an arena ever. We now have Swag Shop in State Farm Arena. So you can watch the Hawks game while you get a haircut, and you can buy some stuff before you leave. That doesn't happen if the people that own that don't see value in that, and value in them being able to make money too. So you can make money with everybody. Just make sure you go back to your black neighborhood, your black neighbor. Make sure you provide jobs to some black people. Make sure you inspire some black children. That doesn't make you a segregationist, doesn't mean that you want to be isolated away from other folks. It just means you're doing what successful people do. You're providing opportunity for others as you make a dollar, as you turn a coin. Booker T understood that. That's why you guys get the privilege of going to an amazing university that created a Herman Russell, that is right now creating the U. I've been on Stephen Colbert's show. I've been on Real Time with Bill Maher, who's a friend now. And I'll be back on there October and November. I've had an opportunity to campaign for a man that I devoutly believed in his principles, in Bernie Sanders. And I've seen us as black people make an impression on these people that run our country and our world in a way that is uncountable. I remember Bernie Sanders, we were down here trying to get unions or encourage and support the unions that are here for what's the delivery for Amazon. And I knew that this man had integrity when he patted me on my back and said, Michael, you're gonna be a billionaire, and I'm gonna tax the hell out of you too. I said, well, at least he was honest. But I so believed in his campaign. For every dollar I make, I pay about 39 to 43 cents in taxes. Now, I'm a black kid. I want all my money. You can't find a better reason to be a conservative than money. And I'm talking about like a George Will conservative, not these fools just talking about Jesus and they don't like abortions and black people and other people need to go back to Africa. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about George Will. Just a physical conservative. You ain't find another people with a great excuse, but I'd be more than willing to pay an extra dime and pay over 50% of my dollar to taxes if it's going to give us the schools that we deserve in the public school system and send children here. I'd be more than happy to. So when I was on that campaign trail, I was always looking to see if he was going to crack. I was always looking to see if he was going to be typical, and he was not. So seek allies that may not look like you, that may not be in the community you're in, that may not even worship the same God or have the same beliefs, but at their core, they have integrity. At their core, you know that these are the people to aid you. The working class in this country has to understand that business is not a bad word. I would rather a man who has cut grass be the owner of the lawn company than a conglomerate that has never. I would only listen to people tell me don't do drugs who've been on drugs. Who can tell me how better not to be a junkie than somebody who's been one? Who can better help tell me the dangers of alcohol than somebody who's been an alcoholic? So seek out people when you do business that have done business. Use those people. I remember, I think his name was Reggie Lewis, man. Wrote a book called Watch the White Guys Have All the Fun. My aunt made me read it as a kid, and that's when I understood that as big as I was thinking, I need to think bigger. There's a man named Mike Roberts. He and his brother built $1 billion company. They use tech, they use real estate owning hotels. When you look at Sheila Johnson, the ex-wife of Bob Johnson, Sheila Johnson sold BET. Bob Johnson went on to start the Charlotte Bobcats. Mr. Johnson was an amazing man. He's worth a lot of hundred millions today. Sheila is a billionaire. Sheila understood that going into the service and spa industry was what it was. And I tell that story because I remember my wife first told me she wanted to go into a bed and breakfast, and I shoot off. I didn't want to be a damn bed and breakfast. Everybody ain't in Savannah. But I didn't understand health and wellness was going to take over. And I apologized to her a lot about that. And she said, Negro, I told you, but don't worry, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be like Sheila Johnson. I'm going to be the billionaire. They're going to say I had an ex-husband. I told her, you ain't leaving me. I said, whoever your new husband, me and my brother husband, we going to be okay. Reinvestment is not just money, young people. You might not have money now, but you're in college and you're setting up for careers that are one day going to make you a middle-class Black person. I need you to understand that a reinvestment in your community is not just charity. It is not just giving kids book bags. It is not helping kids simply play sports. A reinvestment is you showing up, doing things in real time. A reinvestment is right now, you as a college student going back to your high school, encouraging those kids, saying, I know it feels hard, but I'm telling you, after you get through freshman year, it's a breeze. Because you meet a tribe of people that are going to be encouragers and not discouragers. My daughter was walking around Hampton University. She's texting me and her mother, I'm so hot. I'm so tired. I didn't realize how big it was. And her mother, who went to Morris Brown, a little tougher than Morehouse at Morris Brown, y'all know it. Her mother talking to her little girl said, nigga, tighten up. Breathe in and out. You're going to be okay. You chose to go to Hampton. So you're going to finish Hampton. I don't care how much you have to walk. I don't care how overcoming. Go sit by the water and look at the water. And her mama wasn't them polite, you know, negresses, you know what I mean? She remember the Daleses and Jackson Jills, and she had been all that. But her mama was thugging yesterday. You owe it to other children who are looking at you and young adults who are looking at you for them to see you in their face, encouraging them. Every year, the chief of police in East Point, Georgia, calls me, and you know rappers ain't supposed to stand next to police, but I don't care. He says, Tri-Cities High School, which produced Outkast, which produced Escape, members of Jagged Edge, those kids produced their own PSA commercials, and I need you to help me. So, I figure I might get a speed ticket one day. I better help the police. Worse yet, I might get caught with a joint. But I go, and I look at these brilliant, beautiful children that are doing the cameras and writing the scripts themselves, and one of the most beautiful things that happened to me was I walked on the university campus at Hampton, and I saw a kid. He said, you remember me from last year? I said, yeah. I said, you chose to come to Hampton? He said, I did. The first year was tough, but I got it now. And he said, thank you for coming to our school. Thank you for encouraging me. So I need them to see people like you, not just us old people with some gray hairs on our head and our beard, but they got to see you while you're young, encouraging them. There's a comedian named Jonathan Slocum. Jonathan went to Frederick Douglass High School. He made it his point to come back every year during the jobs day and give us inspiration. I told Jonathan, you're a big part of the reason I became an entertainer. Jonathan didn't understand how big of an effect he had on me. Lil Yachty's father was a photography and art major at Frederick Douglass High School. His father was a hero to me. Had his father not been there, you never would have gotten Miles, which is Lil Yachty's real name. Miles used to walk around with a camera taking pictures of people. He got so inspired by the people he was taking pictures of, became one of the greatest artists of our time. Because his father chose to invest time in kids like me. And he got to see his father do that. So I need you reinvesting your time. Your time is worth more than your dollar. I went to Morehouse. We can get uppity sometime. We can think we somebody big, My friends will remind me, the white folks paid for y'all. We built brick by brick ourselves. Oh, boy, I get so ashamed, I just shut up. We're going to see some dark times. We're going to disagree in dark times. But I want us to understand that even in our disagreements, we can fight for the same things and values. I remember standing in front of the Bankhead Seafood food truck. Noriega was there. He's a podcaster. He's an amazing rapper. He's a podcaster for Drink Champs. Noriega is a drinker. He had brought a bottle of Moet to say congratulations. And he had brought some smoke too. So we were doing the typical stereotypical thing. We standing in front of a fish truck, like a bunch of old men in front of a store, drinking champagne, smoking blunts. And T.I. walks up to me and says, well, Mayor just hit me and said the protesters are kind of going left, and she wants us to come down and speak and talk. I said, well, she hit the right person, because she ain't hit me. I'm straight. I wasn't going to interfere with no protest, because I figured the state needs to fear the people and not the other way around. What they didn't tell you about that protest is black people had went down there and protested peacefully. They had let their concerns be aired. They pushed the line. And then these people that nobody knew popped up. And they started breaking stuff, tearing stuff down. Now, one thing I know about Atlanta, Georgia, I don't know everywhere, but I know Atlanta, Georgia, they ain't gonna let no protest go too far north of Peachtree Street. See, because Peachtree Street is where you got Lenox, where you got the banks, where you got Buckhead, Chastain Park. The CNN Center is located on the edge of the west side of Atlanta. Right, literally, I grew up 4 miles from the CNN Center. If that protest pivots left, you burn down Vine City, you burn down the Bluff, you burn down Simpson Road, you burn down Bankhead. Eventually, you get to the Collier Heights, the whole west side corridor. Tip comes back about 30 minutes later. The mayor called me again. I said, she called the right person again. Glad she ain't called me. And then my friend said, well, if you ain't gonna go, I'm not gonna go. And that's when I realized that, you know, like in that movie, The Color Purple, where they say, maybe God's trying to tell you something. And I didn't want to go. But my friend said, I can't do this without you. And people have criticized my friend, criticized me. But if you didn't grow up on the west side of Atlanta, if you didn't grow up in a place that expected you to go to Tuskegee and Morehouse and FAM, if you didn't grow up in a place where black people had better, even at their worst, because they worked hard, you wouldn't have understand how fearful and scary it can be to know that a protest had got invaded by others and was willing to burn those communities to the ground. And I got up there on that podium with a Kill Your Master shirt on, after seeing a woman who's also from the Collier Heights, Keisha Lance Bottoms, scream at a room full of policemen, and even the white police chief, stand down. Do